Welcome to this explainer. For centuries, modern society has completely dismissed ancient shamanic practices as mere myth or just primitive animism. But what if we've been looking at it entirely wrong? Today, we're going to explore shamanism not as some kind of superstition or magic, but as a highly sophisticated, multidimensional technology of human consciousness. And the craziest part? It is grounded deeply in actual quantum physics and neurobiology. So here is our roadmap for today's journey. We'll be looking through 5 distinct lenses. First, the anatomy of the trance. Second, the neurochemistry of the sundance. Third, the quantum energy body. Fourth, cultural applications like the Fujo, the psychopomp, and Icaros. And finally, the psychology of self-transcendence. All right, let's dive straight into Section 1, Anatomy of the Trance and the Biology of Altered States.
When you look at practices like rhythmic drumming, deep fasting, hyperventilation, or taking entheogens, it's easy to just write them off as random cultural habits. But from a strict anatomical standpoint, these are highly calculated triggers. They're designed to intentionally shift the central nervous system completely out of its ordinary functioning to reliably induce ecstatic states of trance. It's basically an ancient biological hack.
And the hard science behind this is genuinely astonishing. 7.8 cycles per second. Why does that specific number matter to us? Well, scientists have measured the base electromagnetic resonant frequency of the Earth, something known as the Schumann resonance. And guess what? It sits right at exactly 7.8 cycles per second. Native American drumming patterns actually mirror this exact pulse. By exposing the brain to this specific, steady, low-frequency rhythm, the practitioner aligns their own brain waves right into a visionary theta state. Think about that for a second. Long before we had modern EEG machines, these practitioners were intuitively syncing their nervous systems up with the literal heartbeat of the planet.
Moving on to Section 2, the neurochemistry of the sundance, pain, deprivation, and ecstasy.
Picture the Plains Indian sundance. It is an incredibly intense, visceral reality. Initiates willingly put themselves through extreme physical deprivation. They fast, they go without water, and in many traditions they endure literal flesh piercing, where they are tethered by rawhide ropes to a central pole that represents the tree of life. They dance, and they tug for hours until the flesh literally breaks. Now, to an outside observer, that just looks like agonizing torture. But inside the body, a highly advanced biochemical process is kicking into high gear.
The secret to this whole process lies in endorphins. These are endogenous opiates that are produced naturally inside the human brain. The extreme physical stress and the pain of the sundance aren't just for show, they're deliberate, mechanical triggers. The body responds to this severe trauma by flooding the central nervous system with these endorphins. These natural painkillers latch onto nerve cell receptors and completely alter the dancer's state of consciousness. They literally transform agonizing pain into euphoric, visionary ecstasy and give them absolutely incredible endurance.
This biological chain reaction works like an absolute revelation in human engineering. Step 1. The initiate combines hyperstimulation from the dancing with the extreme deprivation of fasting. Step 2. This pushes the central nervous system so far past its normal limits that it triggers that massive release of endogenous opiates we just talked about. And Step 3. The result is profound analgesia, meaning a total inability to feel pain, coupled with massive euphoria and a shift into that visionary theta brain state. The initiate is quite literally hacking their own neurochemistry to touch the divine.
Okay, next up, Section 3, the quantum energy body, holography, and nonlinear time. In our ordinary, everyday consciousness, we perceive time as totally linear, right? It's a straight arrow where the past is gone forever and the future is totally hidden. But in what the sources refer to as shaman time, reality is completely nonlinear and cyclic. In these deeply altered states of awareness, the past, the present, and the future all exist simultaneously. The shaman's consciousness navigates a quantum plenum of infinite possibilities, completely unshackled from the rigid chronological progression of our standard reality.
And the implications of this are absolutely mind-bending. In modern science, physicists call it the quantum inseparability principle, or QIP. It's the idea that our observation, our thoughts, our emotions, and our intellect can actually change matter and energy, dynamically affecting every other particle across time and space. Fascinatingly, shamans have understood this concept for millennia, through ideas like the Aka web, which is this non-physical web of threads connecting literally everything in the universe. They intentionally use their altered states to pull on these threads, practically proving that in a holographic universe, thought and intent are tangible energy.
So how do they interact with this quantum web? The practitioner uses their own physical anatomy,
operating as a tissue tensegrity matrix. Basically, the human body acts like a living, breathing crystal. Through piezoelectric effects, your body converts mechanical energy, like the flexing of your muscles during a repetitive dance, into actual electrical energy. From an energetic standpoint, this advanced shamanic anatomy describes the human body as a star tetrahedron or a Merkaba, constantly adjusting its frequencies to send and receive information across multidimensional space.
Moving right along to Section 4, Fujo, Psychopomp, and Icaros. Let's look at the cultural applications of this technology.
One of the most universal cultural roles we see across the globe is the archetype of the psychopomp, a guide of souls. The shaman doesn't just heal the living physical body, they are a navigator bridging the gap between our ordinary waking reality and the afterlife. Whether they're performing a soul retrieval, engaging in the North practice of Uttasetta, where they sit out and commune with nature spirits, acting as a Chinese Wu to channel the divine, or literally escorting a deceased person's spirit toward the light, the psychopomp uses their ability to traverse the quantum energy field to actively help others.
But to safely act as a psychopomp, the technician of entheogenic ceremony relies on very specific tools, like Icaros. Icaros are ceremonial songs and hymns received while in these non-ordinary states of consciousness. It's kind of comical how modern medicine often just dismisses these as, nice little melodies to set the mood. In reality, they are precise auditory tools. They are specific frequencies of sound utilized to guide the psychological journey, protect the participant, and literally restructure the patient's energy body during deep trance.
We can see a highly structured example of this in the Japanese Fujo tradition of female shamans. There are distinct differences depending on the initiate. You have the blind Ogami-sama, who undergo very formal rituals to consciously summon spirits, and then you have the sighted Kami-sama, who often experience a sudden, spontaneous divine possession. But here is the really fascinating psychological twist. For the Fujo, performing these community healing rites actually stabilizes their own internal psychosomatic disturbances. So healing others becomes the exact mechanism by which they heal and regulate their own minds. Brilliant, right?
And that brings us to our final stop, Section 5, the psychology of self-transcendence and the self-actualizing mind.
If we look at this clinically, our ordinary consciousness features a very separate sense of identity, standard everyday awareness, and emotions that bounce back and forth between positive and negative. But under shamanic ecstasy, an incredible transformation occurs. That rigid, egocentric identity is completely deconstructed into a fluid state of no self. Emotions shifts from variable right into ineffable, highly positive bliss, and concentration becomes vastly expanded. This structured, shamanic technology systematically dismantles the human ego to replace it with a boundless, transpersonal identity.
Under the right supportive conditions, whether that's induced by rhythmic drumming, enduring the Sundance, or deep contemplative practice, the human mind is revealed to be a self-organizing, self-optimizing system. We possess an intrinsic, deeply biological drive toward self-transcendence. Shamanism simply provides the ancient, highly structured framework to unlock this natural human potential. And remember, this isn't just about ancient cultures in the past. This is about the latent biological hardware sitting inside your own head right now.
And that leaves us with this final, genuinely provocative thought to ponder today. Based on the biology, the quantum physics, and the transpersonal psychology we've just explored, is the human mind simply a random collection of chemical reactions inside a biological bag? Or is it a highly evolved, self-actualizing gateway purposely engineered to navigate a holographic quantum universe? I really hope this explainer completely shifted how you view these ancient traditions. Keep asking questions, keep seeking structured understanding, and I'll see you next time.